Hey, this is Wylene Benson, and today we're going to be talking about how to not care what other people think. How would you like to not only not care what other people think about you, but actually even laugh in the face of what other people think about you? Well, today I'm going to be sharing some principles with you and taking you through some exercises, and actually it's kind of like a workshop of you being able to really find your best self and seeing how amazing you are, so that really it doesn't even matter what other people think about you. So the first question that I have, and before we get started, I'm going to invite you to grab a piece of paper and a pen and take some notes, because this is going to be some really good information for you to take a look at. And as we get through, as we go into these exercises, you're going to want to be able to refer back to those. So go ahead and grab a piece of paper, pause the video if you need to grab that, and come back when we get started. So the first thing that I want to invite you to ask yourself is, how do I feel when I get a compliment? When somebody is really complimentary of me, what does that do for me? How does that make me feel inside? And if you're like most people, there's like, you get kind of tickly inside and you're excited, and there's a lot of gratitude, and it makes you feel good about yourself. And that's awesome. And we love compliments. But how do you feel if somebody, maybe you did something really great and they diminish you, they shame you, they say, that it wasn't that great, and you're just not really sure why they said that, but they give you a different response than what you were expecting. So how does that make you feel inside? So go ahead and write down what those things are, what those emotions are that you're feeling. And most people feel a little bit less about themselves, or maybe they don't even want to try. So the next question I have for you is, how does it feel to know that another human being has that much control over you? Something to think about. I want to tell you a quick story. This was a story about my mother-in-law, and she has passed away, and so I feel okay about sharing this story. And we had a great relationship by the time she had passed away. But in the beginning, we didn't really have that great of a relationship. When I was newly married, I had probably a couple of kids, and she was such a clean freak, and I was not. I was like completely opposite. And she called me one day from her home in St. George, it was about 4 hours away from where I live, and said, I'm on my way up to your house and I'm going to visit for a little while. And I was like, cool. So I hung up the phone, and I thought, I got 4 hours, I can clean my whole house, and by the time she gets here, my house will be perfect. So I had that 4 hours. I cleaned up, of course, toys, because I've got little kids, and, did the bathrooms, the floors, everything. And by the time she rang the doorbell, I felt like the whole house was clean. Everything was perfect. But I was just shutting the fridge door, and there was a little tiny spot of ketchup on the top of the butter container on the top of the door. And I saw that ketchup drop, but the doorbell had rang, and so I thought, I'm going to shut this door, I'm going to go get the door, and then as soon as I have a moment, I'm going to come back and I'm going to wipe that little spot of ketchup off the fridge door, and the whole house will be perfect. Everything will be awesome. And so I went and opened the door, and she had to use the restroom, so she went to the bathroom, and I was just standing there talking with her husband. And from the kitchen, I did not even hear her leave the bathroom, but from the kitchen I hear, Wylene, there's a little spot of ketchup on the fridge door. Do you have a washcloth that can wipe it off? Oh my gosh, the one thing in the whole house that was not perfect, and she found it. Well, I totally just laughed out loud. I seriously just laughed right there, and I thought, there's no reason for me to even try, because to please this woman, because she's always going to find something. And from that moment forward, I made the decision that I was just going to be me. I was going to clean my house the way I wanted to clean it. I was going to raise my kids the way I wanted to raise them. I was going to be me, and she could like me if she wanted to, and if she found something wrong with it, that was okay too. That was fine with me. So what I'm going to invite you to do today is we're going to do a couple of exercises where you're going to get to go inside yourself and really find out who you are, and make the decision to show up as that person, and allow everybody else to choose how they choose to see you. And by the time we're done, you're just going to be laughing at how you used to be. All right, So let's go ahead and go into this first exercise. So the first thing that I'm going to invite you to do is close your eyes and take a deep breath and just be open to receive whatever comes to you. And as you are sitting here with your paper and pen in hand, and you're going to be free writing the answers to these questions that I'm going to ask, and just continue writing, just write until all of it is out. And the first question I have for you is, when do I step out of power? And the second question is, when do I give my power away? How do I give my power away? And the third question is, how often do I show up inauthentic to me because I think someone else wants me to be something different? So how do I give my power away? When do I step out of power? And how often do I show up different than I really want to show up because I'm afraid of what other people will think? And there's lots of questions that we could ask, but we'll just go with those three. So go ahead and finish your free write. Just keep writing until you've got it all out. And then once you get that all done, just take a look at what you've got written down there. And how does this feel to know that another human being or a circumstance or an experience outside of yourself has that much control over whether you feel at peace with yourself or whether you stand up in power, whether you show up authentically to who you really are? Just take a moment and maybe even write down some of those emotions that you're feeling about knowing that you're giving your power away in this way. All right, so we're not going to stay in this negative energy for very long. We're going to go ahead and step into a new visualization, a different visualization. So go ahead and set that paper aside, grab a new piece of paper, or if you need to, you can just flip it over and write on the back. We're going to be using that other paper later, so don't let it go too far. All right, so for this next visualization, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes again, take another deep breath, and this time I'm going to invite you to find a really beautiful place in nature that you can go in your imagination and see yourself on a path. Maybe this is a path through a jungle. Maybe it's a path through a wooded mountain glen. Maybe it is a path through a tropical forest on the way to the beach. So wherever you choose, maybe it's in your backyard if you've got a really awesome backyard. So wherever you are, just imagine that you can see all the colors around you, the foliage, the trees. You can look up and see the sky coming through the trees. And maybe you can hear some birds in the background or the breeze rippling through the trees. Take a deep breath, and what do you smell? Maybe you smell, if you're in a tropical forest on the way to the beach, maybe you can smell the sea air. And maybe you can smell pine if you're up in the mountains. Wherever you are, just take a deep breath and smell that fragrance of the earth. Feel the breeze on your cheeks. And maybe as you're walking along, your hands are touching the foliage on the sides of the path, and there's a little bit of dew on there. So you can feel that dampness. And just kick off your shoes and feel the temperature of the earth and the texture of it and the softness of the path beneath your feet. So get really present with being in this beautiful natural surrounding. And look up ahead in the short distance, and you can see an opening in the trees. You can see that there's a clearing. And outside in the clearing, you can see that there's bright sunlight. And so you've been kind of in the shade in these trees, and now you're on your way out to this clearing, and you can see that you'll be stepping out into the sunlight. So go ahead and take that first step out into the sunlight and feel the sun on your face and your shoulders and your chest. And then take 2 more steps out into the sunlight so you can feel it on the top of your head, and you can feel it on the backs of your shoulders and on your back, and you're completely surrounded and completely enveloped with this bright sunlight. And without the burden of a physical body, because you're just in your imagination, I'm going to invite you to take a look down at yourself and see what you look like. See who you are. This bright sunlight has the ability to show every inch of you without the burden of the physical body. Who are you? What are the gifts that have just been waiting beneath the surface for you to fully express yourself? What are your talents? How do you serve people? What do you look like? How are you standing? What is the emotion that you're feeling? Do you feel more confident? Do you feel more present? Do you see the divine worth that's underneath that surface? So whatever you see, go ahead and write that down. Whatever you feel, even if you want to draw a picture of what you see, just get that written down as concisely and with as much detail as possible. And whatever you see, this is exactly for you. This is only for you. So go ahead and get that written down as detailed as possible. Just continue to free write until you've got that down. If you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that until you get everything written down. And now I'm going to invite you to take a look at this list. And this is the list that is more authentic to who you are. Maybe this is a person that you've never shown to anybody else. Maybe you've kept that person hidden inside because you're afraid of what other people would think about you. So as you look at this list, I'm going to invite you to write the words "I am" in front of each one of these descriptive pieces. So maybe you saw yourself as light, so then you would say, "I am light." Maybe you saw yourself as divine, so you would write, "I am divine." Maybe you saw yourself as gifted, so you would write, "I am gifted," and however you are gifted. So go ahead and write "I am" in front of each one of these statements. And now, go find a mirror and stand in front of that mirror and stand in the way that you saw yourself in the bright sunlight, with nothing inhibiting you being able to see your divine intelligent spirit, genius, whatever you call it, inside. And stand in that way that you saw yourself, in that vision, in that visualization. And repeat these affirmations back to yourself. I am gifted. I am light. I am divine. Whatever you have on your paper. Go ahead and read that very powerfully, because that is really the person that you are. And these are not just affirmations. These are not just frivolous words that you wrote that you hope someday you can become. This is actually who you are, because this is what you saw in that visualization, standing in the bright sunlight where nothing was hiding you. How does that feel? How does that feel to know that this is who you are? So now that you know who you really are, I'm going to invite you to go back to that first list. The first list that you made, where you stepped out of power, where you let other people decide how you show up, where you gave your power away. Look at that list. And this time, as you read it, I'm going to invite you to start it with, "I used to be," and then read that list. And as you read this list, I'm going to invite you to laugh and just see how utterly ridiculous this is, because this is not you. This is the person who you have been showing up with as, thinking that that was the best person for you to show up as, when really this other person that you are is more authentic to you. And so as you read this list, "I used to be," and as you read it, just see how ridiculous it is, and just say it out loud. That is so ridiculous. And just make a commitment that from now on, you're going to show up as this amazing, highest and best person, and that person who you used to show up as, who's not even you, just gets to go by the wayside. And if that person ever thinks to show up again, you can just say, "That's ridiculous. That's not me. This is who I am." All right. So going back to that first list, let's end with that. Let's finish that. Let's just read through that "I am" list one more time. I am, and read your whole list. And when you get down to the bottom, I'm going to invite you to say, "I see me," because that's really all that matters. When you see you as your highest and best self, and you begin to step into that person and you act as that person is, and stand in the bright sunlight always, nothing can touch you. When somebody shows up and they give you feedback in a way that you didn't expect, be like, huh, that's interesting. That's actually pretty ridiculous because it's not even who I am. And all of a sudden, you're standing in your power. It's okay if other people show up a certain way and give you feedback in a certain way. That's their opinion. That's totally fine. But you also have your opinion, and your opinion is really what matters. So I am your whole list, and I see me. So there you are, and now you know that when you know who you are, nothing can touch you. So thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Have much more content that I'll be sharing, and so watch next week as we share more information.